Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women Talking Money podcast. My name is Gretchen from Magenta Financial Planning, and today I am joined by Lewis Byford. Having worked in the finance industry since 2011, Lewis is the co-founder of Anthony George, which is the UK's first financial planning subscription-based recruitment company. The website states that they are never boring and put the fun back into financial planning recruitment. As well as being the co-founder of Anthony George, he's also the co-founder of the Financial Planning Club, and which is a one-to-one business consultancy. Their mission is to connect, empower, and elevate business owners and professionals through a suite of resources and have a community of over 1,300 people on their WhatsApp community group. Outside of work, Lewis likes to cycle, even raising money for a local hospice last year. He also likes to spend time doing yoga, journaling, and time with his family. So welcome, Lewis, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. What a lovely intro, I must say.
Thanks.
I was thinking, is this me? Is this actually me?
And I should also say thank you to being the first guest for this special edition to mark International Men's Day, which falls this month. So thank you for joining us. So why don't you fill in that bio a little bit and tell me a little bit more about, your work with Anthony George and then obviously running the new kind of consultancy thing for financial planning practitioners, etc.
100%. So my bread and butter over the last 8 years, so I've been running Anthony George Recruitment. So we are a subscription-based recruitment agency. And what that effectively means is instead of the traditional, 20-25% fees that normal recruiters would charge, we charge a flat fee and it's paid monthly and spread over 12 months because we just realized that clients wanted more support and they wanted an easier regular payment. And for us, we've been able to work more closely with our clients. And it's a little bit like our ongoing advisor charge in the financial planning market. We've got, 35 core clients that we work with. And yes, we will naturally grow by a couple each year. But we've got a really good foundation and we end up getting really close with our clients. We meet them every 2 weeks. We understand what's going on with them culturally. And it's a really lovely feeling. You have a really great relationship and it's naturally built. And by doing so, we realise in recruitment that people come to us for one reason, that's recruitment. But in our meetings with our clients, we realised that, suddenly they had some culture issues with their team and maybe had some business development issues, or maybe they did a little bit about business planning. And we realised there was an opportunity where we could add some more value. So my business partner and I started to do some consultancy. So we would come into a business, do some consultancy, maybe look at a business development strategy for a team of advisors. Business development is always a topic of conversation. And we realized that, 80% of the market is small SME businesses and they couldn't necessarily afford, a day rate of a consultant coming in. So again, we wanted to think, how can we change it again? I'm very much a thinking outside the box type of person. I think, I look at another opportunity. And that's when we launched the Financial Planning Club, which is effectively a fixed cost, £500 a month, including VAT, which is really nice. So, because obviously it's super important to make sure we get the VAT covered, and you get unlimited support, every document you would ever need to run a business, accountability, a peer group as well, which is super important. And it's just bringing advisors together, and really helping them grow. I had a meeting this morning. A lady just started a financial planning firm. She went, I'm great at being an advisor, but now I'm a business owner. What does that look like? I said, have you done a cash flow forecast? What your costs, what your expenses? What does it actually look for your business? When can you invest into your business? I don't know where to start. So it's really weird now being that business owner. So it's bringing our experience of the business that I run before and sold and whatever. It's bringing that experience of a business owner mentality, but also bringing it part of a community, but making it feasible for a much wider group of individuals. So yeah, I'm quite excited. It's been a journey, isn't it? Like you just have to, I think you just got to get on with things and just give things a go in life, I suppose. But yeah, I love it. I think I love what I do. Really do.
I mean, you always really speak really passionately about it. And I think the concept of connecting people, we all know that having broader network can help with our kind of knowledge base and ideas sharing and sharing of worries, etc. So that's, that sounds like that's great grounding for it, and giving that resource is just amazing for people.
100%. It's little things like we've got partners on board that just enable, a client just to quickly speak to a solicitor straight away, no cost. It might be a question about restricted covenant, it might be a question about the contract. It's little things that just gives clients a little bit of peace of mind, like just to make sure that they feel they're okay. And it's like, oh my God, should I recruit? Should I not recruit? Should I invest into this? What does my marketing strategy look like? Our new business has dropped. Why is that? Okay, well, let's just think this through from a third person looking in, because sometimes myself, I wouldn't be where I am without my business advisor. I know that, but he pushes me all the time. So I'm thinking, I know we can support other advisors, other advisory businesses. So we're like that third person looking in and making them accountable. And yeah, it's amazing. It's a great little bonding thing. It is. It's lovely. It really is cool.
Well, I wish you all the luck with it because,
Thank
and
you.
I know that it's going really well so far. And practice manager at Magenta had been raving about it. So,
Oh, yeah, because I know
yeah,
they've got
she
quite
was
a few
telling me
in
about
the
it.
WhatsApp groups. Yeah, you love
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah,
so good.
yeah. Yeah, excellent. So, thank you for joining me to talk about money today. The opening question that I usually ask people is, what sort of things did you hear about money when you were growing up? Or, did you even talk about money as a family when you were growing up? So what was it like for you, Lewis?
Great question. I think I was really trying to have some time to really think about this, and I spoke to my parents and think, what was money like for us? And I think, my parents divorced when I was 3, so 3 years old. So I only know a separate household, a divorced, household, and that would mean I'd go to my dad's once a week and then back to my mum's. And obviously, when mum and dad separated, dad took the family home. And then mum had to go into rented accommodation all on her own, start working. And I always remember little things like my nan and granddad would say, money doesn't grow on trees, that typical saying that I'm sure you've heard a million times. And on one side from my brother-in-law, so my dad married more than once, and from my brother-in-law side, at my dad's first marriage, he was a bit of an entrepreneur. So I had from one side that entrepreneur side of, working for himself, getting the new cars every 3 years, buying some apartments and renting them out, and then doing lots of investing. So I kind of had it two sides. So I understood that it was possible, but I also understood how hard it can be doing something on your own. Because if I then flip back down to sometimes as a child, as what I can remember, my mum used to work at a packaging firm. And then for us to get some extra money, not like the machines you used to have these days, but we had a packaging thing where boxes would come in. We'd have to make them into full boxes, a little perspex glass piece, and it was like a little bit of plastic. So what me and my sister used to do with my mum in the evenings was get double-sided sticky tape, tape that round the outside, and then put the glass fitting onto it to make a full packaged box. And we used to do that all evening. We used to get 20p per box, because we needed just to get some extra money on the table. And my earliest memory was, mum was getting work on her own, and like nan and granddad dropping off food parcels. So it was hard, on one side. And then from my dad's side, you could see that money was okay. Money was easier to come by, So it's I kind of had two polar opposites in some cases. But I'm very fortunate with my upbringing, and I don't take anything for granted, and I just feel very grateful for everything I've ever achieved or done. And yeah, it's amazing, really. I just know it's an interesting thing to talk about, because I think everyone's realities and family dynamics are different, aren't they?
It's really interesting, though, that on one side, there was clearly a, work, sort of almost extra work, and every penny is obviously counting.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, probably with hard work, but with, a different, that we all know there is hard work that then gets you somehow to a more affluent position, where hard work is still hard work, and you're working really hard,
Yeah.
but in a different way.
Yeah.
But it must have been. How do you think that impacted you when you started thinking about, like, what am I going to do? Like, what kind of job am I going to go for? Or, as you became a young adult, like, do you think that did influence you?
I think so, because I remember I used to love finance. I used to really enjoy finances as a kid. I used to remember like watching Bloomberg, on Sky, and just watching the numbers, thinking this is fascinating. Like I'd love to be able to get into this. Looks so cool. This is going to be where this is probably the industry that I'm going to go down. And I thought that would be a way that's probably what my future would look like. But it wasn't at the start, starting off like super young. I ended up actually working for my brother-in-law at that time. Because obviously he'd done well. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll go down that particular route. And he's in like construction and like computer aided design, like long mechanical work and stuff like that. And I started to kind of learn what that was all like. But then over conversations around the dinner table, it was kind of like, you need to work for yourself to earn the money. You need to be your own boss. You need to have control, control over your own destiny. You need to do things on your own and things like that. And I thought, well, what does that look like? Well, how does that work? And that's what made me think, right, well, what do I need to do? How can I get into this kind of industry sort of thing? And then I had an opportunity to then work in the city, literally for free, like commission only. And it was selling physical bars of gold with a 3% markup. It was literally like, it was ruthless, Gretchen. It was so hard. Like, it was ridiculous.
Physical bars of gold.
Physical bars
That's
of gold
mad.
we used to sell, literally. And it would go from coins, from small gold coins right the way up to your physical bars of gold. And I just remember it so vividly. And it was literally like commission only, suited and booted, 17 years old. And it was just work. And it was like 16-hour days. It was hard craft. But everyone else around me was earning really well. And I thought, I want to earn well. How can I do that? What do I need to do to achieve that? So that's kind of where it all began at the budding age of 17. It was just crazy working in London like that. It was crazy.
We'll come back to that in a minute. It's really interesting that you're saying like the conversation, which sounds like it was primarily kind of led by your brother-in-law, was like almost that kind of being entrepreneurial is the way to go, like being set up on your own, being in control of your own destiny. It's really interesting because I never heard that. That was never a conversation.
Really?
Never, ever, because, and a lot of people I speak to, it's probably an age thing as well, but parents were in more an employed role in with your DB pensions and all of that kind of stuff, which now is eking out. But I mean, if there's just no way that would have been part of the conversation, like why not do it on your own? In fact, that would still petrifies my father now. But yeah, so I'm mad to think that you could, I mean, it's great that you were influenced in that way, that he was there kind of, and also willing to talk about it, that conversation was actually happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think like my mum would be like, the amount of times, I'm sure we get onto this, but the amount of times when stuff has gone really wrong when I'm on my own and you've got no money and it's not going well, the amount of times mum would go, just go get a job. Just go get a job. You'll be fine. Go get a job and just work in the city. You'll get a good salary. You'll be fine. But deep down, I was like, no, I can do this. I know I can do this. There was no doubt that I couldn't. And then my grandparents would always be like, work from start at the bottom and work your way up, start learning the ropes and keep working, and then you do better. Or like my dad has been in the force his whole life. He's police force, so it was kind of looking at that side. My sister went down the police side as well, and I just never found that interesting.
So they're all quite traditional kind of messaging, aren't they? And then you've got this brother-in-law that came in and went, just
this is what
do
we're going to
this
do
instead. This is what you should do.
He's going on holiday all the time. He's getting a new car. And I was thinking, wow, how are you doing that? Like, how are you doing that? I need to learn off the back of that, And I remember coming round one weekend and he just bought a brand new, not brand new, but a new car, but it was a classic Porsche, like a real classic Porsche. And I was like, oh my God, like this is so cool. Like it was just insane. And he'd just done his house up and he's now bought another house. And I couldn't work out at that time why he hadn't sold that house. He said, no, I'm going to keep the house and just rent that one out. I was like, right, how does that work? Like I wanted to understand what he was doing. I was just genuinely inquisitive around it, and thought, finance and doing that would be the way that I would make it. And I'm still trying to make it, Gretchen. It's a long way to go, isn't it?
So was the gold bars, tell me, was the gold bars your first job? Or did you have a job before then?
No, I had a job before, which was working with my brother-in-law. So 16 in school holidays, working there. And I basically was just learning the ropes, I didn't get special treatment because he was my brother-in-law, but my sister worked there as well. And I remember some conversations like, "Oh, you don't need to do that. Don't worry about doing that. Darren won't let you do that. It's fine. Don't worry. You haven't got to do that. You just sit there and just chill, or just look at this page and whatever." And I was like, "No, please, I want to learn. Like, please tell me, what are you doing?" I used to ask so many questions all the time. And then when I'd done my task, I'd be like, "Right, then bins are overflowing. I'm going to go and do the bins. Is that all right?"
Yeah,
and they're like,
next?
"No, you don't need to do the bins." Yeah, he was like, "No, you don't need to do the bins. We'll get someone else to do that." But I was like, "No, I'm not a special treatment type of person. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a grafter. Like, I don't want to be bored. If I'm bored, that would annoy me." So yeah, that was my first job. Yeah, that was my first job.
Do you remember how much you got paid at that job? Because clearly at the gold bars, you weren't getting paid, you were getting commissions.
I was getting nothing.
Getting nothing. But what about for your brother-in-law?
Yeah, I think it was, so in the 6 weeks holiday, I literally did like 7 weeks, and I remember getting paid something like £450, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm an absolute baller. Like, I'm earning loads of money here." Yeah, I remember little things like that. And, no one even told me really what to do with that money, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one told me anything about that. I used to get money from my nan and granddad. So my nan and granddad had 4 grandchildren. And in nan and granddad's bedroom, in one of their wardrobes at the bottom, we all had like tall tins, and there was 4 tins. And each week we would get £1 in our tin. So the only way of saving, as what I would know, wasn't from my mum, wasn't from my dad, was literally from my grandparents, where they would go, "What, should we see how much you've got this month?" And I'd go and have a look and see how much I've got in there. But yeah, I think it was about £400 was my first one, and then the extra money that I'd get from nan and granddad. Yeah.
So you said, or you felt like you're a baller, like, "I've got the money."
Yeah,
like, is that like, I was going to say, like, how did that, because I remember my first, well, I didn't get a paycheck, got it in a little envelope, but yeah, I remember how that felt, having your first money. But interesting that you said, there was no conversation about what I was going to do with it, whether some of it was being saved and some of it was for spending, like no kind of guidance on that.
No, nothing at all. It was just go out and spend it on probably rubbish things, probably at that age. If it's like, hindsight is an amazing thing, isn't it? If I could go back all them years and even save 10% of what I was earning back then, my God, different conversation,
There's a whole podcast, I'll send you the link to it, the on the Diary of a CEO, about that, just about, making wealth. And literally, like, if you'd started at 18 and just put £100 away or £50 away, whatever it was, the compounding effect, as we know, over multiple years would be just massive. So anyone who's only 18 and listening, that's what you need to do.
Start now.
Yeah.
Start now.
Now, yeah. So what about now then? Do you have a budgeting system now, like, that you use to manage your life?
I do now. I'm much better at it, much better. So I actually think it was probably from the Diary of a CEO. I love Stephen Bartlett and the guests that he has. It's so cool. But yeah, so the budget system that I have for me personally is I do 50% is what I call my fixed costs. So my gross earnings that I get, 50% is what I call my fixed costs. So they're like my mortgage, that's my food, anything, my council tax, nothing will go below or go above 50%. And then I do 30% in kind of savings. No, I do 20% in savings and investments, basically. And then 30% on just spending anything that I want to buy, basically. And some months is more, some months is less into savings. But I try and keep to 20%, basically, on that sort of front there. Because obviously I need to also save for tax as well. Obviously I get paid dividends, so I have to sort my own tax out. My pay is gross, so I need to then think about my tax, and obviously do that at the
So
obviously
carve off your
January.
tax kind of separately as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all covered off straight away. Yeah, that's all
I think
covered
it's an
off. So
important one to recognise, actually, for listeners, when we're thinking about being self-employed, being an entrepreneur, many people do get a bit scuppered by the self-assessment situation
yeah,
and the fact that, you're going to have to pay, your payments on account, and you're going to need to, if you adjust your income in one year, it's going to impact your payments on account as well as what you owe at the end of the year. And it can, get quite tricky sometimes when
yeah,
those payments on account suddenly shift up, if so it is something to
absolutely.
really educate yourself on. I think that self-assessment, kind of the way that it all works around payments on account, I think it's something that catches
Absolutely.
people out.
Definitely caught me out at the start, when my accountant said to me, right, so you've got to pay X, but you've also got to pay 50% of next year's. And I was like, but I haven't paid that yet. Like, he went, yeah, no, but that's what you need to do. And I couldn't
You haven't
work
earned
that
it yet.
out.
It's not in my
I'm
pocket
not,
yet. Like,
I know.
how's that happening? So yeah, it's there's some big advantages, but I would say the tax regime can also be that disadvantage of being self-employed, can't it? Of just
Yeah.
sort of not getting it deducted monthly, having to pay it ahead of time is sometimes a challenge for people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because when I was obviously employed and I'm paying PAYE, I'm paying tax, I'm thinking, my God, I'm being taxed straight away. So you see your gross figure and everyone then see your net and you're like, oh my gosh. But then you think you're getting paid more, but don't worry, it'll come and get you. It'll come and get you. So make sure you are saving, because it's not fun.
Yeah, exactly. Carving that out. It's called a profit first kind of way of doing it, isn't it? So you just make sure you've got all your little different pots, and you're never going to go awry then, because yeah. And what about debt management? I mean,
Yeah.
people have different kind of feelings about debt. I think there's some ideas, concepts of good debt, like our mortgage, and there's concept of probably bad debt. I mean, how do you feel about it, and how do you manage it?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, when I first started the business and I first had that conversation with mum and dad, look, I'm thinking about doing something on my own or setting up on my own. They were like, look, well, you've got no overheads now. You're living at home. If it all goes wrong, you're still going to have food on the table. You've still got stuff to do. And when I started, literally with like under $5,000, like literally not much. And it was so difficult at the early days, like getting the business up and running. And then I resorted to credit cards to keep the business afloat. And that naturally then builds and builds. And it's kind of having them conversation with mum and dad, look, this is kind of like a calculated risk here, but this is kind of what I need to do to get it off the ground. It's kind of then me having conversations with people that I knew, thinking about, well, okay, where do I need to be to basically pay that all off? So I think the first start of my first business, it was really, really tough, really, really tough. But I learned from that. I understood that my income therefore would be effective. The business needs to cover that. So it was just kind of a real massive learning curve. And the way I look at debt now is I actually see it as a positive. I really do. If it's managed the right way, I think it's really, really good. I don't believe in saving every single penny that you've got to then reinvest that cash into a business. I believe that if you can afford that monthly payment and you've got an opportunity, get a loan and absolutely go for it, because opportunities don't stand around. I'm 30. I turned 30 this year. I want to really grow. I really want to grow a business. I really want to do well and help as many people as I can, particularly in this industry. And if I can get a loan to get me there in half the time and bring in an expert to help me do that, I believe that's, in my view, a calculated risk. It's still a risk, of course, but I see that as, no risk, no reward. My business partner, on the other hand, is very risk averse. So yin and yang is really quite good, because he keeps me grounded of being too risky, but also flip side, I make him, push outside the box as well at the same time, because otherwise, we wouldn't have done half the things that we've accomplished or achieved, or the model we've changed or anything like that. So I think it's a positive if it's managed correctly, effectively,
Yeah, and if you have a plan for it, maybe is the way. If you understand it, understand how much it costs, understand the actual reality, if that debt
Yeah.
spirals, those kind of
Yeah.
things. But I think it's really true. And I do think that the fear of taking debt can restrict us sometimes
It
for
can,
taking
yeah.
opportunities and making opportunities. We talk about that quite often with especially female entrepreneurs, is that,
Mm,
because it drilled into us that, or quite commonly, let's face it, drilled into us that like debt is bad, that, shouldn't have credit card debt and all those things. And probably for a reason. We know that it can multiply very quickly. And I wouldn't
yeah.
advocate credit card debt. I don't think that's
No,
necessarily the best thing that we should be talking about. There's probably different ways of getting commercial loans to develop business
absolutely.
that's a lot more sensible. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting one. And I love your thing about your business partner being, the balancing act here. I think that's,
It really
maybe that's
is.
the success the kind of successful kind of solution is to have someone who's willing to do that, and also someone who's like that bit more cautious, who's going to like question you along the way.
Absolutely. And I think it's understanding that, debt in the right way can be an advantage, and certain like reward credit cards and stuff like that, like educating myself on what is out there that can be beneficial, to not only you personally, but the business at the same time, where, I'm a, I don't spend cash at all. No cash. I don't spend nothing. Everything my personal goes on to a credit card that's got points. I get my Amex points and I use it to my advantage. That's my holidays, that's my flights. And people sometimes don't understand that. Well, if you've got the cash, why don't you use it? Absolutely no. You can get extra money and extra points and extra opportunities. So it's just, I like to think about, well, how can I maximize the money that I'm earning and use it to my advantage effectively, and so when I try and talk to some of my my circle, and some of my friends are doing really, really well, and they're like, oh yeah, I just put everything on my nationwide thing. I think, why are you doing that? I said, you fly all the time. You can think about points, and what are points? I'm thinking, oh my god, how do you not know this? Like, this is like a game changer. It's just like educating yourself, I think, is so powerful, and I just love that. So if you can get that, the debt management right, you can really use it to your advantage. You really can, as a benefit, and you're not paying any interest at all in
Yeah,
most
yeah,
cases.
absolutely. So just being organized, I think, is one of the things key, around debt, that you're not forgetting that you've got to do something, or that, all of those things. So do you think your approach to money has changed as you've gotten that bit older? Not that you're very old yet, but
Oh, I
as
am.
things.
I'll get in there.
No, you are not. But yes, from certainly that sort of first, 17-year-old or 18-year-old selling gold in
Yeah.
London to now. Do you think it's changed the way you approach money?
Um, Massively. Yeah, 100%. I was so carefree back then. Like, there was no saving, there was nothing, as long as I had enough money to pay for my monthly train ticket, to London, I would spend absolutely every single penny that I had that month. And I was like a challenge to spend that money as well. It was like, right, well, here we go. What can I buy? What can I buy? What can I buy? Whereas now, I think you're more older, more wiser, and I've made good money. I've nearly lost it all, probably about 2, 3 times. So I think you start to really appreciate money that you have made. And, I was saving so hard to buy my first place. And, I never thought I would be able to do it, because some months you're not saving anything. And it was only when we got the business to the point where I could start taking a half decent salary, and then I'm pumping all my money into my ISA. I then started to understand, a little bit about the FTSE 100 and a tracker. And I started to earn more interest on that. I thought, well, that's going quite well. I'll pump more money into that. And suddenly my savings pot grew. And then I started to understand about the LISAs and the help to buy and what's better. And no one really had any conversation with me about it. I had the odd conversation with, the odd client, here and there, speaking to advisors obviously all day, every day. But I never actually had any advice. I was just kind of working it all
Yeah.
out kind of for myself in a way. But now I'm, 30 now. So I feel like the first 10 years, I've just grafted really hard to find, where is my career going to go? What does that look like? And now, I've moved out for the first time, and that's so weird, right? I'm like, doing my own washing. Mum still does my ironing though, let's be honest, right? Okay, Mum, I was going to get an ironing lady. Mum was like, don't pay an ironing lady, I'll do it. I was like, perfect, no problem with that one then. So yeah, that's a whole learning process, you know. Obviously have now a mortgage payment every month. I mean, that's not fun, is it?
No.
But you know, it's a journey, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I feel like it's a grown up move.
So you mentioned something a moment ago about how you made money and almost lost it. So let's just talk about that. I mean, my question was going to be, have you made a financial decision that you regret, and how have you handled it? But you don't have to answer that, just, if it does relate to that, but just tell me a bit about what you meant, like almost lost it.
So this was with Anthony George. So, when we set Anthony George Recruitment up, I had never been in recruitment ever. I'd never placed anyone ever. I had never been on a CV database. I'd never written a CV. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. And the business I had before was a marketing business for financial advisors, basically. So it stemmed from the gold bullion into a marketing firm for financial advisors. I was then doing a whole fact find and then getting a percentage from the advisors on that bit of place, a bit like lead generation type thing. And that went, quite well. And I made a little bit of money off the back of that. And one of the advisors said, well, my friend has got he's a recruiter and they earn loads of money. I thought, perfect. Tell me about this. So we went up to London, he's great big offices, and he's got big team, like 50, 60 people, and they're earning loads of money. I thought, this is perfect. I know financial planning. How hard can it be? Well, honestly, Gretchen, it's really hard. Like, it's so hard. The first 5 years, I literally made no money. All the money that I had made, all the savings I had for my mortgage, absolutely everything was just gone. And we had a big contract with London and Country Mortgages. So you probably know them. They've got a place up in Newcastle and one over Bristol way as well. And we had a team of, I think, 11 or 12 individuals working for us at the time. And it was low value. No, it was low value. So it was £2,000 a placement, but it was high volume. So we'd be doing like 30, 40 placements, maybe every 2 months, 3 months, something like that. It was making like good money, but a lot of it was coming off straight away, like to pay for the team, pay for the commission, everything like that. There was no consistency. It was just, very, very new business heavy. And they stopped all recruitment. They got bought out. They stopped all recruitment. And it was literally a whole hole. Everyone got made redundant. And I had, 11, 12 individuals that were not at the level to speak to a financial advisor or a power planner or anyone like that. And I then had to make the decision on what we're going to do. I had 1 month left in the bank, 1 month to pay everybody. And I thought, oh gosh, what am I going to do? The word was a bit more sharper than gosh. But yeah, it wasn't ideal. And we had to obviously tell everyone that you can't come back into work tomorrow. Unfortunately, we'll pay you up until today. And I remember them, whether that was their naivety or just how honest I was. I went, don't worry, we'll all do it together. We'll work together. We'll all just work for free and we'll get through it. And I thought that's, amazing. But I said, look, we can't do this. We need to really refocus and really think about, what the business looks like. And at that time, I started to read some books around being subscription and subscription-based businesses, the Netflix model and stuff like that. And we took all the things that clients loved about how we did recruitment, the video interviews, the technical testing, all the stuff that they love that saved them so much time. And we then rolled that into the subscription model. So instead of us charging 10, 15,000, 20,000 pound a placement, we're now charging 500 pounds a month, 600 pounds a month for a power planner. And we started to build that. And that was a real change for us. We stopped taking money from the business, and within a matter of like 3-4 months, we could suddenly see that our monthly recurring revenue was slowly increasing, and we could start to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So having to tell everybody they haven't got a job and having a 1 month left and literally going bust, to suddenly to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, going back to my dad and going, Dad, you need to now help me pay for my car. You need to pay for everything for me. I will give you the money back when I've got it. And having that security blanket for me to go back to my dad and my parents to support me was amazing, and I'm extremely lucky for that. but it's a learning curve, you know, and I think that's changed my mindset around risk management and also around upfront commission and, you know, trying to get as much money as you can. You know, I remember in the early days, you want to try and negotiate as high a salary as possible because that's how you're paid. But is that ethical? And that's what I didn't like. And I thought we need to change it. And I want to do something different. And we're the first. So hopefully, you know, it's working.
Yeah, yeah. And what a lesson, you know, and I guess around concentration risk is a
Yeah,
big
that's a
thing
good,
to take
yeah,
from that, right?
yeah,
Concentration risk. So your risk was so heavy on them. If something happens to them, you know, and that's what every business needs to think of, that whether you are a, you know, a small virtual assistant but you've got
yeah,
like one big client and then a couple of small clients,
not
or
good.
whether
Yeah,
you're a financial planning firm that has, you know, 8 of your clients have all of the millions and everyone else has, you know, 100 grand, you know. Yeah, I think concentration risk is a big thing to kind of take from that,
absolutely.
definitely.
Learn from that massively. So like if clients want us to take more on, they would either we'd have much more robust contracts. You know, it's a learning curve. You know, I've,
Yeah.
you know, never been in, like I said, never been in recruitment before. I've never set this sort of business up. You know, I'm learning on the job all the time. And it wasn't until we got a business advisor on board that kind of sat us down and started to map out, you know, their his 20 years worth of experience, you know, to us, thinking, don't ever have no more than 20%, you know, of your turnover reliant on that one client, you know. And we are I'm all over that. You know, your A, B, and your C clients is
Yeah.
super, super important, you know, and really mapping that out and understanding to clients as well. I'm not taking that job on because, you know, it doesn't fit with our model at the moment. You know, we'll come back to you in
That's
6 months' time, you know.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because the conversation earlier was that you were the kind of the risky one, you're the one. So
Yeah,
there's different types of risk that we're talking about here. Like
yeah,
debt, we're seeing as like, well, debt might be a means to an end. Debt might mean
yeah,
also more opportunity for the business. But then if it's also backed up with, you know, caution in business management, caution
yeah,
in concentration risk, or, you know, as you say, having the right tie in over contract or an exit kind of scenario for people who are leaving, so that you can clearly map out that cash flow easier for a replacement
absolutely.
business. Like that's all good risk mitigation in your business, you know.
100%, 100%. Like we
Yeah.
would be like, I'm more happy to take that risk because I know, for example, the next 6 months we are in profit. So if anything happens, everyone's got a job. So if we was to make an investment now and it's going to cost us, £1,000 a month, for example, that's a calculated risk. Okay, we're getting a lump sum of capital, which therefore means we've got 6 months to make this work, you know, and make sure that the opportunity's there. But we know that we could afford that, afford to do
Yeah.
that. So it's using it in being aware, is it, and being more realistic. So I'll still
Mm.
push, but knowing that the way that we charge now and our model is that monthly recurring revenue, making sure that I'm safe, I'm secure, my business partner, my team is secure, because they've got families, and that would be the worst thing I'd like to do, a risk, and that I'll have to let somebody go. I couldn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we're running short on time, so I'm going to go to so you've just moved into your house, right? So that was a big
Yes.
financial goal for you. So what is there if you set yourself now, like what's next? What's the next goal for Lewis? Have you got kind of like something that you're currently working towards?
Yeah, absolutely. So where we are with Anthony George, we're really stable. We've got a really fantastic client base. We're working really closely with them, and we can kind of forecast what next year is going to be looking like, which is fantastic. With the new business, I know this is going to be coming out a little bit further down the line. It's probably another, etc. But we want to get to that break even point now, for the new business. We're very fortunate. We've took a calculated risk. So we've moved money from Anthony George to the Financial Planning Club. We are still being paid through Anthony George, so we now need to think, where am I spending my time? I need to make sure we've got clients and partners to hit that minimum of what we need. That will then give us that security to then invest into the business effectively, and also proof of concept and everything like that as well, So for us, it's now to build up clients on the Financial Planning Club side to that point of break even, and then really starting to grow, off the back of that, which is amazing. And, there's been opportunities where people have gone, look, I love what you're doing. Like clients of ours have gone, I love what you're doing. Can I invest in your business? And I'm like, no, not yet. But let me, even though inside I'm like, oh my God, take a percentage, give me the money. Let me grow this. I can do it. I know I can, but I want to that's my cautious side, and my business partner coming in to give me that balance. It's to get that to that point is our next goal as a business, and see that, because the vision of what we have, from the support that I've had from our business mentor and the business that they have, and how many people they've supported, and the times where it's been really tough for me, I can help so many people. And the conversations that I have ad hoc with financial advisors just starting out, understanding how to generate new clients, or understand how to make themselves different, or looking at their operational efficiency. I get so passionate about that, and making one small change in the business can make a phenomenal difference, not only to the business owner, whether that's flexibility, more time, but also the team as well. And that's what I'm passionate about. The financial planning industry is still so small. We need to grow it. There's so much opportunity for financial advisors, given, what 9% of the UK population got advice. And there is an opportunity, and I want to be able to help as many people we can to help more people, and I love that. I'm a bit soft about that. I just am who I am. I just want to do it. I want to do good at the same time,
Excuse me. Well, that sounds really good. Coming to something maybe a bit more personal then.
Yes.
What's your most, I want to call it like a joyful financial memory, but in what I mean by it is maybe there's something that you've experienced that you can go, yeah, I worked really hard towards that, and that's my memory, something like that to share.
My nan and granddad have got, they were getting older. No, you're all good. My nan and granddad were getting older. This was probably about 3-4 years ago. I think about 3-4 years ago. And my nan's best friend moved to Canada. And she's like way into her 80s now, and they wanted to go over there kind of one last time, basically with them, because obviously they're all getting older and everything like that. And Nan and Granda were saving up, because obviously the flights for two of them over to Canada, was obviously quite expensive. And they said, "Oh, can you book the flights for me? And then obviously we'll transfer you the money." And it was only, I think, I can't remember, it's probably about 2-3 grand, something like that, I think, in total. And I thought, I know how much they were saving and everything like that. And I just bought the tickets for them, and I just wrote them a little letter and just said, "Look, you've always been there for us through thick and thin, when mum had to go back to work and nan's doing the school run, nan's doing our dinner, and they've always been there." Oh, it's making me emotional thinking about it. And yeah, just giving me that opportunity to give back to them was amazing. They cried, everyone cried, but it was just like that little thing that I could do obviously meant so much to them, that the money that they had saved was obviously they're going to be their spending money. But it was just really nice that I could do something like that, just to really give back to. Oh God, why am I getting, Gretchen? Why are you making me cry? I mean, this is insane.
Well, I've had a coughing fit and crying, but I am also, I mean, so many people, that's the thing that really gets us going, isn't it? Like, can we share some of this with other people? Are we able to enable them to do something that feels really good? But they're getting this amazing thing. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So final one then, because we always end on what does financial freedom mean to you, or what would it look like to you? What did it feel like to you? There's no right or wrong answer.
Love that. Financial freedom. This is a conversation that I do think about a lot, if I am honest. Like, what does that look like? I'm very much a goal setting type person. I've given myself, a 10-year plan to hopefully retire at 40. That is my personal plan, to build the businesses up, and then sell them. I've been very open and transparent about business partners and everything like that, about what I want to do. And what would that actually mean? I think giving back is super important to me. I love giving back. I love helping, all my charity stuff. I do genuinely enjoy that sort of side. But I think working the stressful hours that I have done historically, realizing that meeting can wait is a big thing. Like, even now, I don't like to work past 2 o'clock on a Friday. I don't want to work a Friday moving forward. Getting to them points and little milestones, realizing that would be freedom for me, having a 3-day weekend and not having to worry that I need to work that extra day to afford the money that I need to do. And spending time with my family, really. If I can have an opportunity to take them on holiday or something like that, I would absolutely, love that. I think that would be freedom for me, but I don't know. It's really hard to, because a big thing for me is like, if I retire early, so I reach my goal and I retire when I'm 40, what the hell am I going to do? Because I'm going to be so bored, because I love what I do too much. Like, I don't see it as work. I really don't. I love it. I genuinely love it.
I was like, I was about to say, what are you going to do? That was going to be like my question. But I guess, financial freedom is different for everyone. Maybe there's different stages. Maybe there's the stage of what financial freedom means before this goal, but there's smaller goals, like you say, with not Friday working, that kind of thing. That feels pretty good and pretty free, doesn't it? And then there's a whole layer of what might be next. And the more people I speak to, I think maybe there's a moving part, because it would have used to have been, I wouldn't have to work anymore and I'd be retired, and that would be it, wouldn't it? That would be the financial freedom age, where you didn't have to work to make the money. I guess it's still sort of that, but can also mean multiple other things.
Definitely. But then I suppose I speak to so many financial planners that absolutely love their jobs, and they're 70 and they're loving their job. And you talk to them, I go, why haven't you retired? He went, because, I love what I do. I love seeing my clients. And I felt like that could be me. That could be me. And I've had friends and, colleagues historically that have built businesses and then sold them and then just gone back and done consultancy work because they miss it so much. They've got the financial freedom, but they want to give back. And maybe it's that piece. I love supporting the younger generation. If I can support them, because I believe it's all around a mindset. Be told that you can do it will give you the confidence to go out and do it. I think so many people are told, no, you can't do that. You can't do this. I don't believe in that. If you've got the right mindset to say yes, I'm very much a glass half full type of person. I am positive all the time. My friends, I see a positive in everything. And I think if I could help more people do that, that'd be a really nice legacy, just to say, you made me start that business, or you helped me do this, or you gave me the confidence to do that. That would be amazing as well. That would give me freedom and joy, for sure.
Well, I personally think, you're well on the way with both businesses, and I know people are going to listen to this and be really inspired. So thank you for sharing your story
thank you so
today.
Much. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute honour and pleasure. Sorry if I waffled on too much.
Not at all. Not at all. I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thanks.